I am just amazed. That shows a complete lack of understanding, I'm afraid, of the importance of the event and actually of the British people. And it's a bit worrying that somebody who wants to be Prime Minister after the election has that lack of understanding of the British people.
The Prime Minister was apologised after he made that early exit from the D-Day commemorations yesterday. How bad is it?
It's pretty bad for the Prime Minister, this. There's no getting away from it, as you'll doubtless be hearing the same sort of things from Tory MPs that I am, Tory candidates, rather. Just speaking to one who spent all day at their local D-Day commemoration yesterday and now feels that time was completely wasted in their marginal seat. And it's very difficult for the Prime Minister to explain this one away. It's rare that politicians apologise and say they've got things wrong. It's even rarer they get things like this wrong. That's the unfortunate thing for the Prime Minister. And weirdly, in apologising, he has sent this story to the very top of the news agenda today on the worst possible day, when a military veteran is getting up for the Conservatives, a military veteran with leadership ambitions, in Penny Mordaunt, facing 6 other party leaders in Nottingham later this evening. One of those is Nigel Farage, and the other is Angela Rayner, pugilistic public campaigner whose brother served in Iraq. So it's very difficult for the Prime Minister, this, put it that way.
I've had messages, one former Tory minister saying it's making 2017 look like a campaign masterclass. Someone else saying, great battles are never won without some moments of apprehension or sheer terror. Just putting a gloss on it. Someone else saying, don't, it's very sunny. We're having a lovely time in the sunshine. They try to blank it all out. Absolutely stunning. This is very, very bad. It's not terrific. Let's bring in the Times' defence editor, Larissa Brown. Hi, Larissa.
Hello.
How will this be going down in the armed forces, the veterans community?
Well, I spoke to one army colonel this morning, for example, Philip Ingram, and he was saying that he believed it was hugely disrespectful to those who had sacrificed everything. He said that he thought it was poor judgment, and it showed that Rishi had confused priorities. I was at the Portsmouth event on Wednesday, and Rishi was there. He did give a reading, and of course there were veterans at that event. But the sort of crucial thing about the Omaha Beach ceremony yesterday was that that's where the world leaders were. We had military chiefs going across from the UK. Obviously, had David Cameron and Grant Shapps. But then obviously we see these pictures, and you've got David Cameron with the other world leaders because Rishi left that one early. So it doesn't look good, and it's not gone down well at all.
And I suppose he's already 20 points behind in the poll, so maybe it won't make that much difference. But do you think this will get this will get cut through in the way that lots of things that people like you and I get overexcited about often don't?
Well, I think everybody's talking about it, aren't they? And Patrick was right that by apologising, it is top of the news agenda. Everyone's seen the photographs. Everyone's seen Zelensky. Obviously, was there. He was shaking hands with elderly veterans. And this anniversary might be sort of the last one that we really have, where we've got many of those veterans still alive, because the people I was speaking to were 100 years old. And so I do think people will notice this, and I think, throughout the day we'll probably have more people speaking about how angry they were that Rishi missed it. So I think it is going to be an important one for veterans and serving personnel.
Thanks so much for that, Larissa. Larissa Brown, the Times' defence editor. Well, just before we came on air, I spoke to the Labour peer and former First Sea Lord, Alan West, and asked what he made of Rishi Sunak's decision to leave the D-Day events in Normandy early.
I think it was very ill thought through and a rather stupid decision. But I wonder whether he almost made a conscious decision. I am surprised by the incompetence of the team around him that have seemed to have let him walk into all sorts of disasters, whether it be getting sopping wet, making an announcement, whether it be being by the Titanic, and so on and so on. It was quite clear that by leaving before the end of the ceremony, this would be seen by many people, most people actually, as some sort of insult and not really thinking things through. And I think that his team really let him down badly. I don't believe he's a bad chap who doesn't feel that the people who fought at D-Day deserve support and that this was a great occasion. But it was just stupid. It was ill thought through.
I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? When you think of the people to not disrespect in the sort of the great long list, D-Day veterans are probably pretty high near the top of that list. For some people it might be the Royals, but there's almost no one who would uh, think that you do anything other than the absolute 100%. There were some reports this morning that his original intention was not to attend at all, and this was seen as to compromise that he attended some of it. I mean, but I suppose at least he did attend. But what do you think that tells you about
Well,
him
I
in
think
the operation?
if his original thought was not to attend at all, I am just amazed. That shows a complete lack of understanding, I'm afraid, of the importance of the event and actually of the British people. And it's a bit worrying that somebody who wants to be prime minister after the election has that lack of understanding of the British people. I mean, this recognizing D-Day and its importance in world history was very important. But this specific one, 80 years on, let's face it, the focus was the very few remaining survivors. And they were very, very important because they will never have another gathering like this again. They'll be dead. That generation will be gone. To not realize that and hoist that in and realize the significance, I think is a real flaw, actually, a real character flaw, if that's really the case.
And just finding out in politics, people say, "Oh, this is a big thing. This is a big," even during this election campaign, there have been various things which seem quite important at the time, and we already can't quite remember them. Do you think this is one of those moments that will have, to use the phrase, cut through with voters that will actually undermine Rishi Sunak's reputation with the public, and actually may even, be a turning point in the election campaign?
I wouldn't say it'll be a turning point in the election campaign, but it will have a considerable impact. It will have a considerable impact. I mean, the issue of the costs that he started throwing around, I think that was rather messy. And if you add this on top of it, yes, I think it'll have some impact. I would hesitate to say it'll be a turning point in the campaign, though. But it does show a lack of understanding of the British people, and that's not something that's very good during an election campaign.
It's one thing if an opposition party says it was a mistake, but when it's your own veterans minister, it sounds like he's called up Rishi Sunak and told him himself.
Yeah, that was Johnny Mercer in his unique and inimitable style, trying to be helpful, I suspect, but in the process revealing that he too is very, very irritated by what the Prime Minister has done, or rather hasn't done. And the point Johnny Mercer makes there, I think, is the important one. The idea that the Prime Minister, let's be fair to him, is working 20-hour days. He is trying to win an election that the opinion polls suggest has already been lost. Clearly, he's going to be taking decisions or taking advice about what's best to do at any point. He's not going to be taking all these decisions. Where was the person yesterday who said, actually, you know what, ITV can wait. We should probably be here all day. Or maybe they thought, well, we're doing the G7 next week. That's our photo opportunity with President Biden and Zelensky. But where is the person? Also, why isn't David Cameron saying to them, hang on, guys. This isn't my first rodeo, and I can tell you that, it would be a good idea for you to stay here. And, these are, that sounds like a sort of office politics point, but these are the decisions that may or may not, save the Conservatives 10, 12, 20 seats. Everything the Prime Minister does in this campaign is moving votes. And at the moment, they're all moving away from him.
Well, we are getting so many messages about this. Lots of people incredibly cross. Sunak is toast, says Amanda. Lots of people saying that it's an insult. Fiona says the Tories went to full panic meltdown and decided to change their leader before July the 4th. Could they? It's an interesting question. Maybe we did that with How to Win in a moment. We should talk about what else is happening on the campaign trail today. Labour's manifesto being signed off. What do we know? You've written about it in your column today. What do we know? What's the process, and what do we know about what's going to be in it?
Well, the process is it's been written by two aides to Keir Starmer with input from the shadow cabinet, Stuart Ingham and Rav Athwal. They've been working on this for a while, but it's not like in the Conservative Party where they just write it, send it to the leader, bish bash bosh. It's got to go through something called a Clause 5 process. Now, that is where the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party, the shadow cabinet, and the trade unions all get around a table and see if they like the text. So that's what the people are doing this morning. Will it get through unscathed? Well, it's clear that the unions are worried that the leadership are going to try and water down their commitments on workers' rights. We can expect a little bit of a row in the room on that. But otherwise, it's more notable for what it's going to leave out. You know, there's going to be no commitment on the 2-child benefit cap and lifting that. Unions might kick off about that as well. And there's going to be no new sort of big fiscal commitments. I report this morning in the Times that there is some new detail about economic growth and clean energy. But beyond that, it's been well scrubbed, as a senior Labour source put it to me yesterday. Built around Keir Starmer's 5 missions, you know, travelling light. What they're determined to do is to de-dramatise it as an event, not end up like Theresa May did in 2017, blindsiding her party in the country with a massive policy like the dementia tax that derailed the campaign. So I think Keir Starmer will be very happy if he gets out of this meeting within about 4 hours or less with the text intact.
What a way to spend the day. We could go to Scotland now. First Minister, SNP First Minister John Swinney has been speaking at a campaign event about Scotland's finances.
My warning today that a vote for the Labour Party is a vote for the continuation of Tory spending cuts. We know what Tory spending cuts look like and what the Labour Party has signed up to. By signing up to the iron fiscal discipline that Rachel Reeves set out on her visit to Scotland earlier on this week, what that translates into is a continuation of Tory spending cuts in Scotland if there is a Labour government.
That's John Swinney speaking this morning. We should also touch on, Patrick, the story on the front of the Times today, green anti-Semitism storm.
Yes, so this is a dossier of 20 candidates, 20 Green candidates, all of whom are accused of anti-Semitic and anti-Israel social media behaviour. This is very, very tricky for the Greens, who've become a bit of a happy home for people who have been disenchanted with Keir Starmer's leadership and the main challenger to Labour's left, the sort of reform of the Labour Party, reform of the left of British politics. But the difficulty is, you know, they've had these this dossier of evidence presented to them. They've been boasting about the fact that they are the only party running candidates in every seat in England and Wales, 613 seats. And now they face a choice. Do they get rid of these people and have that mantle taken away from them? Or do they press on and face more stories like this? Because there will be many more of them, because, you know, the Greens are only getting used to this level of scrutiny.
Well, it's a busy old day. Thanks so much for that, Patrick. Patrick Maguire, their Times Radio's senior political correspondent. The Conservatives have decided that this morning they've sent out an email to supporters asking them to buy some election-based merch from their shop. We've got badges, we've got T-shirts, we've got tote bags, and we've got so much more. I'm not quite sure that's necessarily where people are going to go today. Loads of you getting in touch this morning. Chris in Fleet, morning Chris, says, until now I had sympathy with Rishi Sunak. He'd been dealt a rough hand that included 2 jokers, Johnson and Truss. But for Prime Minister of the UK, not forgetting an MP for Richmond that includes Catterick Camp, one of the biggest garrisons in the country, to insult our military history like that, no apology will cover it. Susanna says, Rishi Sunak is being unfairly pilloried by you this morning. It was a PR mistake, but he did show his respect and he has apologised. Nigel Farage is behaving disgracefully and using the suffering of a previous generation to further his own interests.